that's the hottest thing on the image. This could be negative 20 degrees Celsius and still be red if we were comparing it to something that was negative 50 degrees Celsius, if that makes sense. Now, backplates are one of those things that's always been a question. Is it actually doing any good, or is it causing harm? Some people believe backplates cause an insulation issue where heat can get trapped between the back of the graphics card PCB and the backplate, causing more damage than good. Now, we'll need more testing in the future to determine if that's true, and there's a lot of variables and a lot of different backplate designs, so there's no way to really give you a definitive answer on that one. But what I want you to take a look at here is a couple of things. I want you to see the way the heat kind of spreads across the backplate as the graphics card gets hotter, and I also want you to pay attention to what's going on the motherboard and around the graphics card. I want you to see how the graphics card is actually affecting the temperatures of things next to it. That's the whole point of this. Also, too, is I do have the span currently locked so that it's not going to allow the range of temperature to change as the graphics card's getting hotter, since that's what I have it pointing at right now. I want you to see the graphics card temperatures change in relation to the environment, you know, around it as a whole. And you're going to see it probably jump twice, maybe once or twice on the temperature range, where once the graphics card turns white, it resets and then it starts to turn white again. So that's why you're going to see that. All right, enough talking. Let's go ahead and get the test going. Look at that. Look how hot that is. The actual backplate is about as hot as the VRMs up there. So that's why further testing on backplate designs is going to be a big deal for a lot of manufacturers to make sure they're doing it right. And you can see it just reset range again because it couldn't go any warmer than white. So you can see we are now at 55C on the backplate where it's touching right there. And it's actually now hotter than the VRM. Do you see how there's more white here on the graphics card than there is on the VRMs right up there? Yep, the graphics card is now warmer than the surface temperatures of the VRM. Pretty amazing. But check this out. Do you see how much heat is actually affecting the motherboard? Do you see how those three dots right there above the graphics card are just as warm as, well, some of the parts of the PCB here on the graphics card? Well, that's where your M.2 would be. That's why case flow and airflow is hugely important when it comes to your case. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but yeah, your graphics card, especially air-cooled cards, blowing down on the motherboard are creating an issue where it is warming up parts around it. Well, I wouldn't really call it an issue, but it's something definitely to keep in mind, and why M.2 placement is huge when it comes to motherboards. It's also why putting them on the back of the motherboard tray, sandwiched between a back panel with zero airflow, it's not necessarily a good idea. So what about water cooling builds? Obviously that's going to be better. Well guys, what we're looking at here is my water-cooled ITX build I did for Fractal. This is the Define Nano S. It is a single loop incorporating both a GTX 970 from Gigabyte, this is the G1 Gaming, and of course a 4790K i7 and an ITX EVGA Stinger motherboard. So the hotter part on the screen here that you can see is the chipset. That is not water cooled. You can kind of see the outline of the block right there. That is where the water block is for the CPU. And of course the graphics card is facing towards us. So what we're really looking for here is I want to see what happens to the loop temperature as the temperature inside the system starts to go up. So that's what we're gonna kind of look for here. I'm gonna start a heaven benchmark and we're gonna see just what happens as we let it go. I'm curious as to what the loop temp is gonna look like. This loop is with glass tubing, which is also an insulator. Glass is an insulator. So we wanna see here what, I don't know, I'm curious as to how that's gonna work out. So let's just shut up and do it. Well, temperatures are pretty much equalized. So I want to point some things out here. You can see the loop started to glow because obviously it's getting warmer. You can see the chipset's pretty darn warm and the VRM started to warm up. One thing I want to point out here real quick though is you can see the warmth of the fluid right here in the glass. What looks like right here, the fluid leaving the graphics card being super hot, is actually not. What you're seeing right there is a bleed effect of the heat of the motherboard behind the tube actually glowing through the tube, which is why up here it's not nearly, as you can see, right? Stop that. It makes this bend right here, It doesn't cool off as it goes through the bend, it's just less heat glowing through. But look at how hot the motherboard is. Look how hot that motherboard actually got, even on a water-cooled system right here. Part of the reason for that right now is I have the side panel off the case, so there's very little directional airflow. You can see the RAM actually started to get pretty warm too. So that's an eye-opener. Let's talk about this. Guys, this is important. Okay, class, what did we learn today? Well, although it's important to keep things like your CPU and your GPU as cool as possible, things like CPU blocks, GPU blocks, big-ass Noctua air coolers and such, keep in mind that there is an entire system that is going on inside of your case. That's the reason why we put our stuff in cases, is it gives us an enclosure to control the environment for cooling. The problem is some folks believe that because they have a CPU block and a GPU block, that they can run an external remote radiator somewhere else through tubing and not have to run any fans in their system, giving them a nearly 100% silent system. The problem with that is, as you've seen with your very own eyes today, there are still parts in your system putting off heat that have to be cooled. Your RAM, your VRMs, your heat sinks that are on your motherboard doing different things like your chipset. All of those things have to be cooled. Now, I had already seen this sort of stuff before. I mean, I've got a laser temp probe right here. I've used laser temp probes all the time, but I've never had a chance to see how the heat of certain components affect things around it. This is my first time spending any time with thermal imaging, and it really was an eye-opener, and it's going to change the way I build my systems moving forward. So I hope this has also shed some light for you guys on what to think about when you're putting together your systems, what types of fans you use, and where you place them. There's actually some system integrators that actually do this with all of their system designs, Puget System being one of them. They actually use thermal imaging to design their systems, and that is huge. That's why you're going to be seeing this now used in any graphics card, CPU testing, cooler testing in the future. Anyway, guys, that's all for today. I'm actually kind of sweating right now because I've been doing all this thermal testing in here, and it's hot, and I'm fat, and so anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna go now before I start dripping sweat all over the place. Let me know what you guys thought about today's video. If you have any ideas you think I should use this thermal imaging gun or this thermal imaging camera on, let me know. Keep it clean. Let's keep it PC related only. Ish. Whatever. Experiments are bound to happen. Time to go, guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. CES 2017 coverage is brought to you by MSI and the new Z270 chipset, and by EVGA, our trusted graphics card partner. What's up, guys? Jace 2 Cents here at CES 2017, and you knew I wasn't going to come all the way out here and not check out my friends over here at EVGA. So we got a couple things to talk about here. No surprise, KB Lake motherboard, Z270 is a thing, and they're keeping it going with their Stinger line, the For the Win K, as well as the Classified. Bring some new features on there like U.2 connection. If you guys don't know what that is, look it up. It's a new interface for mass storage that doesn't use CPU PCIe lanes, but still considered a PCI Express I/O. So you guys can learn all about that. You can check out some pretty little coverage. So motherboards there is no big surprise. We've got a new laptop here we're going to be taking a look at. This is the SC15. This is their 15-inch, 120 hertz G-Sync gaming panel, 1080p panel, in a 15-inch form factor, all aluminum unibody case right here. Absolutely love the form factor of this. I mean, it's thin, it's extremely sturdy. Even on the bottom here, if you look, it's got like an anti-slip pad, so it's not sliding all around on your table. I love that. Laptops is one of those things you either are into and appreciate a well-built laptop.
Bitwit's coverage of CES 2017 is brought to you by Fractal Design, MSI, and CableMod. Check out the links in the description below, or check out the links in the description below. It's your choice.
We're now rolling up to the InWin booth. I always love checking out InWin. They've always got some cool stuff. Let's check it out. All right, so many of you guys are already a fan of the InWin 303. It was a very successful case that was sort of unexpected from a company like InWin, where it just had a lot of cool features going for it, had a really unique look. Well, they've actually taken that same sort of idea, that concept of a case, and shrunk it down like a lot of case vendors do. But actually, this is really, really, really cool. This is the InWin 301, and it's kind of like the smaller brother of the 303. You can see it's still got sort of the same look, same case feet, same sort of matte finish on the front with the LEDs at the front. Unfortunately, the LEDs right now are red, and I think that's just how they're going to stay. Of course, you don't have to connect that, whether it's a Molex or SATA plug, if you didn't want to, if you wanted to just leave the LEDs off. However, you also do get some tempered glass on the side. I do like the latch system, that they're sticking with that. I think that is a huge plus. Thank you very much, Paul. Paul just rolled in. If you look at the internals here, you can see this is definitely a case that's built for water cooling despite being a mini ITX form factor. So you've got a 240mm radiator at the front there. Looks like they've already got a pump and reservoir attached to the front with a special bracket that is, of course, not included. You also get, depending on how much hardware you want to put at the front, you can get full hardware support for a GPU. You've got kind of an interesting layout in terms of storage and power supply. Power supply and storage are both at the top of the case. You can see they've actually included a shroud there, so even if you have like a hideous sticker on your unit, you're totally safe from it looking horrendous. Storage is also right there, 3.5 or 2.5 inch, right up there at the front. And then at the bottom, you've got some fans. You've got airflow actually coming from the bottom of your chassis. Those are two 120s, and you've got another 120 at the back. The fans that you're seeing here are InWind's own line of RGB chassis fans, so these are not included with the case. But again, the main appeal here, the main draw, is to have something that you can kind of carry around, tote with you if you need to, or if you just don't want to take up too much desk space, while still having quite a bit of water cooling potential. They're still messing around with the MSRP for this. I told them maybe $70 to $80. I mean, you are getting tempered glass, you are getting some decent water cooling support, and it just looks pretty badass. Again, the thing that made the InWind 303 so popular is that it was just a really aggressive price point at, you know, $89 or so, depending on where you got it. So they can't go too much further than that with the 301. But it's looking pretty promising so far. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Speaking of user feedback, this is an InWind 303, but it's kind of an OEM design. You can see on the front, it looks completely different than what we've seen on the traditional retail version. So they've kind of got like a gloss finish here. There's also no branding. There's zero branding. Instead of having the InWind logo right there, it's just completely blank. InWind was just telling me that they were thinking about having users design or etch in their own logo, make it kind of like an OEM feel to customize it even further. Internals here are all the same. The only difference here is that front panel. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like the gloss finish with minimalistic branding, or do you prefer the traditional InWind 303 look? I kind of told them like a hybrid would be good. Like, give users the matte finish without the branding, and I think everyone will be happy. But that could be just me. Let me know in the comments what you think. And this is especially needing your user feedback right here. This is also an InWind 303. However, they've messed around with some of the internal layouts as well. First off, RGB LEDs. I think that was just a long time coming. I think as soon as I saw this case, the first thing I thought was, why can I only have like red or white LEDs, or red or blue LEDs? That just doesn't make sense. So RGB, I think, is definitely something that many of you guys will be like, kind of roll your eyes like, oh, of course it's now RGB. But at the same time, it is kind of nice having that option to select whatever color you want based on the scheme that you're going for. Also, the other difference you'll see here, it's kind of hard to tell. Let me go ahead and take this panel off. With these tempered glass panels, I always get nervous at these conventions. But the other big difference here is that you'll see that the GPU is now mounted vertically. So it does cover up some of the motherboard. However, it does also show off more of your GPU shroud. So I don't know, I think this kind of ties in really nicely with the fact that the fans or the radiator support is mounted in that sort of vertical orientation, as you see up there. It kind of just goes hand in hand, in my opinion. But some of you guys might feel differently. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you like it like this, vertical orientation, or more the traditional, original, kind of a horizontal layout there? Let's go ahead and see the last case that we're checking out here at the booth, and we'll wrap this up. All right, guys, this is the last case we're checking out here today at InWind. This is the Tau 2.0. Apparently there was a Tau 1.0 that I've never even heard about. So when I saw this, I was like, ooh, brand new case. It's kind of more of a refined case that they've made some updates to since the last one. So speaking of which, the first one is this LED touch sensor, which Paul can so eloquently demonstrate. So I guess, yeah, that's totally functional. I'm not sure if this is just like a prototype because it's not really working. The power button works because clearly Paul just turned everything off. But apparently that finger sensor, you can slide it up and down and change the LED brightness on there. I believe those are fixed LEDs in terms of color. I don't believe you can change the actual color of them. The other addition that they've made here, or the revision, is that they've actually increased the thickness of the tempered glass from 3 to 5 millimeters. So it does look pretty beefy. I will say it does look nice. It kind of looks like this polygonal texturized thing. I don't know. It kind of looks like dark crystal status, you know, from the future. The other last addition that they've made here is that they've included dual 360 rad support. So you get 360 at the front and the top for pretty much any kind of water cooling customization you might want to throw in there. Overall, a pretty insane looking rig. I will say the one shortcoming that I would say is, and this is kind of just, you know, constructive criticism, hopefully, to Inwin, is stop making your power supplies proprietary. Because why? Because that kind of limits the functionality. You can't actually pop this power supply into a different case should you decide to do so in the future. However, it is a pretty nice power supply. It is 80+ certified, I believe, platinum, maybe even titanium. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But it is 1065 watts. I forget the exact model name. Of course, Inwin is also known for their really high quality power supplies. I would just hope to see less proprietary versions of that in the future. But that is going to do it for now, guys. This has been Inwin at CES 2017. I'm with Paul. Hey! Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more coverage coming really soon. Thank you to my sponsors, MSI, Fractal Design, and Cable Mod. Go ahead and check out their stuff in the... Stop it! Stop it, Paul. Do not subscribe to Paul's channel. In fact, you can unsubscribe if you are already subscribed. Nope. You go away. You stay out of my videos. You stay out. All right, guys. I gotta go. Screw you, Paul.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, and in this Red Gaming Telecom video we're going to be discussing everything Xbox and Microsoft related. There has been a slew of news over the past few days, and not all of it, to say the least, has been good news for Camp Xbox. We've had, of course, the revelation that the eagerly anticipated Scalebound has gone bye-bye. Both Platinum and Microsoft have now confirmed it, and it's a real shame. I actually really was looking forward to this game. It's probably one of my most hyped titles for this year. And it didn't just look amazing from a graphical standpoint, it really did look interesting from a gameplay aspect as well. So I'm really disappointed it's gone bye-bye. However, there are a couple of other pieces of news. First of all, Phil Spencer is not sure whether Scorpio will be shown at E3. I think it was pretty expected that we would see at least something on the system. However, Phil Spencer has said that honestly, not sure yet, but I know people want this. In other words, he's not really certain how far along they are in the console's development. I'm hoping they'll get something out there though, like perhaps an estimated release date, or perhaps, oh I don't know, like a price point, or more information on the specifications, or perhaps their targeted graphics or something like that. Just something to give us a bit of excitement as we go into the holiday season, which of course is when we're expecting the system to launch. Naturally, price point and all that stuff is just up in the air at the moment. I think it could be a very interesting system for Microsoft. It could essentially, in many ways, do what Valve tried to do with the Steam OS/Steam boxes, which, to be honest, kind of fell flat on its face, which is a real shame. I don't know what it is with Valve, that's a bit of a separate topic, and to be honest I could kind of rant on that. Valve have this habit of like starting projects and they don't necessarily push it as hard as what you'd expect, and I think the Steam hardware was really a chance for us to have a good alternative, but obviously that's not to be. So perhaps Project Scorpio, for folks who don't necessarily want to get into PC gaming all the way, but do want that 4K experience, maybe Project Scorpio will be like kind of like the halfway house between the PC and the Xbox, especially because obviously Microsoft are creating a lot of DX12 titles, or at least are they? So this one